Hello everybody and welcome to another lap guide with me, David Perrell. We at Daily Race C in Gran Turismo, and we at the Tokyo Expressway South Inner Loop. In this particular demo I'm using the Volkswagen GTI VGT, which is also one of the fastest cars on the leaderboards. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to make sure that you have the racing soft tires on and not the racing hards. I've spent many days trying to beat lap times with the racing hards on, not realizing that I could go to the racing soft, and that compromised me quite a bit. Okay, so let's get going. I'm going to take you for one or two slow laps and just talk through some of the lines and thinking around my brake balance and gear changes. So don't over rev the car, that's one thing. Be very mindful of where you change gear and the revs that you're using. Just back to back this with the Ghost to see what is the most efficient. Each gear is slightly different. I found that, for example, the change from 6th to 7th is actually really important. Okay, the other thing to note, you spend a lot of this track at full throttle, so be very economical with the meters that you're using on the racetrack. Avoid steering inputs on the straights because of the scrub slowing down the car. And also you got to get as close to the walls as possible. In this particular section, let's call it the harbour section, you don't want to touch any of the white lines with your outside tyre because you will get a penalty. And then these bank corners, you want to turn in just a little bit later than you think, get into the banking to point the car straight for the exit. So you've got to use the banking to your advantage towards the exit of the corners. If you turn in too early, you're going to understeer. Through tunnels and stuff like this, is minimize your steering inputs, let the car roll as much as possible. And the reason I'm using a lot of rear bias is for the high-speed corners. I want some rotation, but for this hairpin here under the tunnel, or under the bridge rather, I go a bit more front to help with stopping power. However, as soon as we approach the fast sweeping corners again, I go back to +5. Okay, this to me is one of the most important parts of the track. 6th gear, so far you get as close to the right hand wall as possible. Don't worry about carrying too much speed through this left-hander, because the priority is how you exit this right-hander and then set yourself up for a new lap. Get on the power as quickly as early as you can, and then minimize the meters as we approach the start-finish. Starting a new lap here. The top times at the moment are in the 53s, my best is 54.0. Using the banking, this corner drops away on the exit quite a lot. That is to be expected, we are on a freeway. Going down the hill here, I just adjust the brake balance to +4 for the hairpin, and I'm going to brake just before the curb starts. And I turn in just a little bit, that was a little bit late, to hit a double apex and trying to get as gently onto the power as possible. So unfortunately there we touched the white lines and got a penalty. Then through this bank corner, get as close to the walls as possible, but not on the exit like I did there. You want to turn in a little bit later. The moment you turn in early, which is going to be the tendency when trying to race around here, you get into the banking too soon and it sort of fires you off into the wall on the outside. As we approach the hairpin, I adjust the brake balance, get as close to the wall as possible. I don't maximize the exit, unnecessary meters being spent. Getting as close to the curb here as possible, 2nd or 3rd gear. On the exit, I drive towards the wall, or the Armco barrier, so that I can get the wheel as straight as possible as soon as possible, and that helps with acceleration. This series here is, for me, the most difficult part of the track. You want to get as close to the curves as possible, and the minute you're offline, you just start this understeer festival. So this car is very stable because, in my opinion, it has a very stiff or tight differential. That differential gives you stability, but the moment you try and get on the power, it's just going to push you wide. Turn 1, I'm going in 5th gear to help with rotation, but changing to 6 as soon as possible. Then changing 500 or 200 revs before 7,000. That seems to be the best at the moment. As I approach the harbour hairpin, I'm braking just before the curb. And I'm braking towards the curb to create this sort of double apex, maintaining a little bit of throttle in between. And then trying to get on the power as early as possible on the exit. 5th gear for this corner here. Use the banking as much as possible, get on the power as early as possible, and then up through the gears. As you go into the tunnel, stay to the left as long as you can to minimize the amount of meters that you're using, and then short input to the right over the crest to minimize understeer, which will create scrub. Staying close to the left-hand wall, going under the tunnel here. Don't maximize the exit road, use your meters economically. You want to get a little bit closer there, and then you can exit in 2nd or 3rd gear. Just drive towards the wall so that you can straighten the car as much as you can. I'm going to go back with the rear bias, try and get this section correct now. Turning in a little bit too late there. And then this final high-speed left-hander, you want to actually brake quite early, and don't go too wide on the entry. You can stay a bit closer than you would on the other corners because there's a bit more grip there. If you go too wide, it seems that the painted lines are affecting grip. A little bit of brain fade there on the exit. Another thing to note is that these sort of gutters just on the side, just before the walls, actually create a lot of grip. They tend to suck you in. But for me, it's not so easy to hit those. Double apex right-hander, harbour hairpin area. And then just be careful as you get in on power through there. It's not easy to connect those corners together. Use the banking here. You can hear the car sliding on the paint. So you're constantly fighting the grip there. And then as we go into the tunnel, be very mindful of your gears, stay close to the left-hand wall, go over the crest on the right-hand wall to minimize the scrubbing of the tires. You can hear the tires, you know when the car is losing speed. Let's go to -1, which is front, and then braking into the hairpin as much as you can, and then driving towards the Armco as much as you can. Up the hill, through the gears, be mindful of the gears, back to rear bias, turn in earlier than you think through here, get as close to that wall as possible, and then it's all about how you exit this right-hander and this left-hander that leads onto the straight. Don't touch the wall on the outside. Up through the gears, stay as close to the left-hand side as possible to minimize the meters. You want to be as economical as possible on this track with the distance that you are covering. And let's see if we can improve on the lap time here. 54.2 is not so bad. 53s are the lap times of the top guys. Let's just adjust the brake balance slightly. Okay, so far, ticking all the right boxes, sticking to the techniques that I've illustrated earlier. Note minimum tire noise. That's a key indicator in this game of which direction you're going. The minute those tires are squealing, you're losing lap time in Gran Turismo. A little bit too late in the brakes there, and that will absolutely compromise our lap time on the exit. And then for me, the hardest part of this track is because you have to be so precise with this initial right-hander. If you get it wrong, it creates a cascading effect. There you can see the effect of touching the wall on the exit. It's going to cost you lap time all the way to the finish line. However, there you go, pretty decent illustration of what not to do and what you should do on this racetrack. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please subscribe. If you loved it, please recommend it to your friends. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.